Okay, so hi everybody and welcome to the Holistic Pet Monthly Teleconference. I'm Sue Sesha Harnden, a certified Usui Reiki Master Teacher, energy medicine practitioner and teacher, and animal communicator, and I'm the owner of Fifth Dimension Healing Energy here in Clinton, New Jersey. I've helped dozens of people and animals gain balance, wellness, and peace of mind in the past 5 years through my practice. And my expertise in energy medicine helps clients achieve stress reduction, physical, mental, emotional healing, as well as overall wellness and vitality. And my mission is to help you and your pets become the best version of yourself possible using the safe and gentle approaches of energy medicine. And I'm joined here by my colleague tonight, Varangani Cindy. I'll let her introduce herself. Cindy?
Hello, everyone. I'm Varangani Cindy Rounsaville, and I am a homeopathic health consultant and educator, and the founder of VaranganiCindy.com. For over the past 30 years, I have been helping women and men who are interested in using a natural method of healing for themselves, for their families, including their pets, to acquire health and well-being by educating them on how to use homeopathy. I offer homeopathic consultations for people and pets, and I also offer self-help classes and self-help online videos with homeopathy.
And well, Cindy and I are actually separate businesses, and we've known each other professionally for over 5 years. We realized that we have a shared passion around helping pet parents who want to help their animals in a safe and natural way. And after several years of referring clients back and forth, we realized that something more integrative was needed so that we could better support our pet parents in the community. And so we've joined forces to create the Holistic Pet Program. And together we're able to offer educational resources through things like this monthly teleconference, as well as live educational talks, and as well as integrative treatment options through our Premier Pet Package, which we'll be talking about a little bit later on tonight. And we've just launched a new Facebook page, The Holistic Pet, where you can find us at The Holistic Pet Gals on Facebook. So share that with your friends, like us, and follow us, and you can get more information about our services and any other programs and talks that we're doing locally in the community. Now, for those of you who are new to Zoom conferencing, to this web conference tool that we're on here tonight, just a couple of navigation tips to help you. If you take your mouse, if you're on your computer and you hover over your screen, usually on the bottom, but it could be on the top or the side, there's a little black bar on there, and that will bring up a little toolbar for you. And you'll notice there's something for chat. And chat is where we want you to post questions as you think of them during the presentation tonight. We will be answering questions during the Q&A portion. So type them in as you think about them so you don't forget. Also, there should be a little way to raise hand. I think if you go to manage participants, you can also see yourself in the list. And then if you have a question or you're having a technical difficulty, you can also prompt us with a little raise your hand or just give us a signal that something's going on. You can also type that in the chat. We are going to be muting all the participants during the presentation portion just so that we have better audio quality, and we are trying to record tonight's presentation so that we will be able to send you a replay if that's possible. So if you are on the video conference, just keep in mind, if you have your webcam turned on, just limit any distractions in your space, and then we'll have a great presentation and the ability to talk to each other later on during the presentation. So for our time tonight, we are going to be presenting several case scenarios, all relevant to the topic, and we had a lot of fun coming up with the name of this. It's called the Itchy, Scratchy, Bitey, Goopy, Poopy Show. And this, when we thought about it, this is really all the challenges that we get calls on about helping pet parents when their pet's digestive or respiratory or elimination systems are out of whack, and you've got all kinds of, flying snot sneezes and loose stools and coughing and wheezing and runny noses and just all sorts of messy things that we have to deal with as pet parents. And so we thought we would share with you some holistic, natural ways of dealing with that based on our experiences. And after we give you some real live case scenarios, and these are all live things that we have done and worked with other pet parents, then we will be taking the live Q&A for any questions submitted ahead of time, as well as those that you thought of and posted here in the chat. And then just please also understand that the format for tonight, we're not really able to offer individual full detailed consultations, but we will do our best to answer any questions that you do present during the conference, and then we'd be happy to follow up with you also after the call. So I'm going to let Cindy start us off with the first case scenario, and this is going to be around digestive woes. So go ahead, Cindy, take it away.
So I want to say, first of all, digestive symptoms can cause many health conditions. can cause skin problems, parasites, allergies, of course, diarrhea and constipation. So you need to address the symptoms that are being exhibited to get to the root cause as to why there is a digestion problem. So the first case I'm going to be talking about is eating issues. Now I'm reading from my notes, so I'll make sure I get all the details for you guys here. So eating issues could be overeating, undereating, you know, why they're having an eating problem. It could be emotional illness. It could be parasites. It could be. So when you select a homeopathic remedy, you're selecting it according to what the symptoms are, what the eating habits are. Could be family dynamics. So that's what we're matching in homeopathy. I'll talk a bit more about that as we go through the cases. I'll explain a little bit more about how homeopathy works in case you're not familiar with it. So Sue Ann and I have the, I'm going to say the pleasure, what am I going to say, the privilege, the honor. We volunteer at a local wildlife refuge. We work with bears and squirrels and possums. But one of my first cases was a snake case. So the snake originally had a skin problem, and they were getting ready to release it. And I go there for my one time, I'm going to go in there to volunteer, and they tell me that snake's not eating. So I said to her, well, how do you know it's not eating? They said, well, all the critters are still running around the cage. You know, I don't really know what happens with the wild animals. We always have to ask what is normal, what is not normal, so we can get a better picture. So I recommended a homeopathic remedy, and I didn't bring my things here. So a homeopathic remedy would be like in a dropper bottle. I would put into a remedy into a 4 ounce or a 1 ounce dropper bottle. So for animals, we do dropper bottles. And was not completely prepared. I'll get a remedy when Sue Ann's talking to show you what a blue vial is. So what I did was they put the remedy, for wildlife, we put the remedies in a spray bottle because you can't really get close to the animals. So we're lucky if we can actually, you know, get anything on them. So what they did was they would put the homeopathic remedy in a spray when they would spray it onto the animal. So for this case, I selected the remedy for it not being able to eat. You know, not having any appetite is why I selected my remedy. And within 24 hours, they sprayed it onto the snake. Anywhere on the body, the remedy will be given. They sprayed it onto the snake, and within 24 hours, that snake ate. And they had to make sure the snake ate before they could release it to the wildlife because they had to make sure everything's all still functioning. So within 24 hours, the snake started eating the little critters inside there. Once they were all eaten up, they were able to release the snake they were. So homeopathy works by matching the symptoms of the person or the pet is how it works. So if you've ever heard the homeopathic remedy Arnica montana. Arnica is used for sore, achy, or bruising muscles that Arnica is used for. So when somebody has sore, achy muscles, you give them Arnica. Arnica stimulates the immune system, so the immune system does the healing. So all the remedy does is give the immune system a good push, and then the immune system does all the work it does. How it's supposed to work. Our immune system is supposed to do all the healing on a regular basis anyway. So like I said, I selected the homeopathic remedy according to the snake not having a hunger signal, and that's what got the snake to be eating. You have anything else you want to add, Sue Ann, about eating?
Yes, absolutely. So eating is, you know, one of those clear signals whether things are going well or not going well for your pet. And so it is just a hallmark signal and a keynote signal when eating habits change. So not eating is, of course, a classic symptom that something really has gone awry and needs immediate attention. And this may mean even checking in with your trusted vet and getting a checkup. Other symptoms that, you know, their digestion is off is just, you know, big changes in the eating patterns. So if they're off their feed, so to speak, they may be eating less, or perhaps they all of a sudden don't like their favorite foods. They might start chewing on plants or other undigestible things in the house. You might see them getting more hairballs, or they might be regurgitating. They get really overexcited because they're just eating too fast and they literally vomit the food back up. Or they might actually be vomiting because they're eating food that's gone off. You know, keep in mind our pets are so much more sensitive with their smell and their taste than we are. So if a food has gone bad, or perhaps it was badly manufactured, your pet is going to figure that out a lot sooner than you are, because they're going to, you know, they're going to know something's off with it. So they may not eat it, or it might be just they eat it and then it reacts badly in their system. Now, from an energy medicine perspective, the things that we want to make sure are balanced would be, we would be working with what we call the meridian system. as well as the body systems. And so from a meridian perspective, which is just pathways of energy that flow throughout the body, and they flow through major organs and systems in the body, and that's where they get their names. But we want to make sure that the energies are flowing well in the stomach meridian, in the liver meridian, the gallbladder, the small intestine. This is where all the digestion, the absorption of nutrients comes in. And so if energies are flowing properly and in the right direction, your pet's digestion and elimination and assimilation are all going to be working the way they were intended to be. Now, some of the things that we can do to keep those digestive functions in balance are we can be doing energy medicine work. We can be doing work such as Reiki for rebalancing their systems. Reiki is an energy healing for stress reduction and relaxation, but it also is a healing energy that works to rebalance the body at the physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual levels. It can be done hands-on. It can be done as distance treatment, quite often very successfully, because animals understand and connect quite well with energy medicine. Other things that can be helpful might be flower essences. Flower essences support changes in eating patterns. They are meant to address a wide variety of problems and symptoms, and they can also help address issues on a non-physical level, such as taking in nourishment, literally at the mental, emotional, and even spiritual levels. So flower essence, if you don't know, is literally information in a bottle. It looks like this. It's like a little, this line I use called Green Hope Farm comes in a little blue cobalt bottle, and there are stock essences that are made. And then what I do is I actually do consultations and formulations. So based on what symptoms, like Cindy was saying with homeopathy, what the patterns or the imbalances are that you and I will talk about in a phone consultation, I will formulate a custom flower essence to match and address the vibrational challenges or provide the missing healing clues to whatever is out of balance in your pet's body or mental emotional layers. And similar to what Cindy said, that's what a stock essence looks like, but I often recommend that you get a little spritzer bottle like this. This is also colored glass. And the reason these are in colored glass, by the way, is because this is vibrational medicine, and it's important to protect the vibration. So the color of the glass actually helps keep the vibration strong and more available for healing. And these are literally like information in a bottle. So this we would use to spray on our hands. Literally, we could spray it on our hands and pet it into the pet's fur, or rub it on their paw pads or their ears. We could put a couple of drops of it into a separate water bottle and they could drink it. So they're very easy to use, and something that you can do at home on a daily basis when you're trying to shift a pattern that has gone out of balance in your pet's body. Another thing that we can do is we can always check in with the pet when they have digestive issues. You know, what has changed? What don't they like all of a sudden? What's going on with them? And the way we would do that is we would do that through animal communication. Now, animal communication is telepathic and empathic communication that allows animal communicators such as myself to literally tune into the frequency of your pet and exchange information. So we can ask them questions. You know, does your tummy hurt? Or do you not like your favorite food anymore? Or did you eat something funny? Or something you weren't supposed to eat? And we can actually get information back from your pet that can help us understand how to address whatever is gone off for them, and then use that information diagnostically or working in close consultation with a vet or a team of practitioners like us to really get to the root cause of what is going on. And we will know that from the pet's perspective, so we'll be even better informed than just guessing what happened on our own. So animal communication is definitely one of our go-tos here with Cindy and I in terms of collecting information so that we can better support you and your pet. So I think that's all I want to say about digestion for now. What else, what's our next case?
Okay, so the next case we'll talk about diarrhea and constipation is the category. So in working with animals, it's just like working with babies. It's all done through observation. So for a diarrhea and constipation symptom, you want to know how often are they eliminating? Is there any burning? So how it is, you know, when you have diarrhea, your butt burns. Well, they have the same thing they can have. Or is there blood in the stool? Whether it be constipated or diarrhea. Is it from medications? Is it bad food? So the case I'm going to be talking about here is a client contacts me about her lab's bowel problem. The dog goes outside, he walks around and walks around, and he braces himself, and nothing happens. Like waiting to eliminate, nothing happens. He does this a few times, only to finally eliminate a small amount. So I gave the homeopathic remedy according to for constipation. In other words, it wants to go, but it can't go. It has the urges, but nothing's happening. So when homeopathy, you know, there's over 3,000 homeopathic remedies. So we have to find some way to narrow from 3,000 down to 2, then hopefully 1 remedy. So what happens is that we go according to, you know, are they trying to go and not going? Is there no urging at all? In other words, they haven't gone in a day, 24, 48 hours, hopefully nothing longer than that. And, or are they diarrhea? Are they going like every few minutes they're running out there? Or are they not making it to where they have to go? It would be whether it be a dog or a cat. Maybe the cat's not making it to the cat litter box. So those are the characteristics we would look at. So what we did was we gave the homeopathic remedy. And this, by the way, I got the remedy. This is what a remedy looks like. The boron Bluetooth. Most of you guys are probably going to see in the health food store. Sometimes you find them in pharmacies, you'll find them, or even in Walmart anymore, you'll find them in. So what we did was we gave a homeopathic remedy in a dropper bottle. Like I explained before, you put it in a dropper bottle. And they would give the remedy to the dog once a day, they would give. And within 48 hours, the dog's bowels started becoming more normal. It didn't mean it was completely normal, but now instead of going there and bracing itself, after a few minutes, now it's starting to eliminate. So that's what you would be seeing, is in more of a proof, like something like the urge is happening. Things are really happening going on there. So that's what you would look for. So you may say, why would you want to use homeopathy? It's natural. There are no side effects taking a homeopathic remedy. It works by stimulating the immune system using small, non-toxic, potentized plant, mineral, animal substances, which stimulate the immune system. You can take a homeopathic remedy in conjunction with medications. A lot of my clients, including animals anymore, are on medication. So there's ways to work the homeopathic remedy around the medication so that they can take both. And it's cost effective. You know, this little vial right here, there's 80 pellets. You only need 1 pellet. I know the bottle says take 4 or 5 pellets. You only need 1 pellet, is all you need to be considered a dose. And these are pretty big pellets. Most of the pellets I have are much smaller than this, but 1 is all you need. And if you add that 1 pellet to a dropper bottle with 1 ounce of water or 4 ounces of water in it, when this bottle gets low, you add more water back to the bottle again from that same 1 pellet. You cannot get any more economical than just adding water to the bottle from that same 1 pellet. You can at least I should say back 5 to 7 refills. You can at least get, you know, up to 10 refills, I would say, from that 1 pellet you'd be able to get. So again, you know, a bottle probably goes for like about $10, $11, depending upon the potency. You got 80 pellets in here. You're good to go for at least 80 doses. Anything else you want to add, Sue Ann?
Yeah, talking about the always exciting topic of diarrhea and constipation, I have found this to be a constant dance of monitoring the health of my pets. And like Cindy said, it's just like when you have little kids, you know, you're constantly checking what's happening in the diaper. Well, here we're checking what's going on in the litter box or, you know, out in the yard. And that's going to be the report card on the health of your pet's digestive system. So, you know, Cindy mentioned monitoring the frequency. Are they going, you know, regularly? Or is the stool formed? Is it not? Is it loose? You know, is it extra smelly? I know these are kind of like gross topics to talk about, but these are the hallmarks of figuring out whether your pet's digestion, elimination, and assimilation are working properly or not. And so clearly when we have, you know, really off, foul-smelling bowel movements, that's something's going on there, right? That's not agreeing with your pet, and their, you know, their digestive system may be struggling to rebalance and to get back into balance. So some of the things that I have used, and I have used homeopathy fairly regularly to address these kinds of things, more specifically around the diarrhea or very, you know, explosive kind of smelly diarrhea where it's a very loose stool. So it's not that there's a couple of things to address there. One is the physical symptoms of it, but also there's a lot of stress with that, especially with cats who are fastidious groomers. And so when they have bad bowel movements or messy bowel movements, it's actually quite stressful for them. And we used to joke with my little cat who was didn't have the best litter box etiquette. And in fact, a lot of times he would, you know, sort of poop and run and leave it up to everybody else to kind of cover up and deal with the after effects of that. But, you know, when his digestion would go off, you know, he became like the poop flinging lion because he would have a looser stool and he wasn't great about hanging around the litter box to begin with. And he would sometimes, because it was loose, you know, he would move his footing around and he might actually step in it. Well, then he didn't like stepping in it because now it's on his paw. So he would shake his paws out and now there's, you know, flinging poop around the walls and the floor. And, you know, just a mess. And, they get very stressed out by that because they don't want all that poop on them either, right? So you've got, depending on the constitution or personality of your cat, I have one who is happy if I would take a little baby wipe, unscented baby wipe or just a damp cloth and kind of help clean it off and then let him finish his grooming. I have another one that you couldn't get near him. He would like freak out, like, what are you touching my butt, or don't wipe my paw, or, so it would cause him more stress. And so the whole thing becomes very cyclically stressful because we've got this bad bowel movement. Now we've got these stress behaviors. Now we've got mom or dad running around trying to, wipe poop off the cat before he sits on something or walks it across the floor. And now you've got poop all over the floor. All of those things extremely stressful. So clearly, to address the more physical symptoms, something like homeopathy has been an awesome ally for me. But I also would be working on their rebalancing their entire system and addressing the stress. So I would be using something like Reiki to calm them down, to get the stress reduction part of that going. I might look into, depending on the nature of the bowel movements, loose or constipated or something else going on, what other energy pathways, the meridians I mentioned earlier, might need to be balanced or corrected so that everything is getting, flowing in the proper way. I also would be looking clearly at the diet. I would look at whether they might need some kind of fiber or probiotic, or looking at the proteins they're eating. That might have to be changed. They may actually need supplements, so that might be a consultation with your vet. So at the end of the day, it's using this whole holistic approach to looking at what does it take to rebalance their digestive tract so that they are eating normally and they are eliminating normally, and, if appropriate number of times, and the way it's, consistency of it for their age and for their breed. So I think that's where I want to leave on constipation and diarrhea. Again, the litter box is your daily report card, or the yard is your daily report card on how well that's all going. So.
All right, the next case we're going to talk about is allergies. So allergies are caused from candida. They can cause earwax. They can cause runny nose. They can cause skin symptoms. So you might be able to select a homeopathic remedy according to the nasal discharge. But you usually want to do what we call etiology. Etiology means never well since something happened that's causing the allergies. So what might have happened prior to seeing the nasal discharge could be medications, could have been vaccinations, it could have been a change in the environment or the food could be, or even a change in the family dynamics. That is what needs to be addressed. So the case I have here is the client consults with me about her cat having lots of earwax. I asked her, when did it start? I'm looking for etiology. When did it start? 6 months ago, she said. So what happened 6 months ago? She stated her cat took an antibiotic for a UTI, urinary tract infection. So in order to address the earwax, we need to select a homeopathic remedy according to what caused the earwax. And in this case, it was medications that caused the earwax. What happened is the medication affected the gut, affected the digestive systems, and that's what caused the allergy, and it was exhibited in the cat as earwax. So we gave a homeopathic remedy. Now, in homeopathy, there's various potencies or strength, you might want to call. So there's, for most cases, for acutes, like for a urinary tract infection, we're using like a 30C or a 200C potency. But in this case, because it was the gut, you don't want to make a quick transition. You want to slowly improve the gut. Not because by choice we have to do it, but you need a lower potency remedy, like a 6C. So the lower the number, the lower the remedy is, the weaker the remedy is, and the longer it's going to take to do the improvement. So since we had to slowly transition the gut bacteria, or the good bacteria into the gut, we put them on the remedy. Once a day they would take the remedy. And I'd be looking for improvement within 5 to 7 days. I also recommend I put the cat on diatomaceous earth. DE, as most of us would know it as. So diatomaceous earth, we put them on that for 2 to 3 months. That's going to help to clean out all the bad stuff and put some good stuff back into the digestive system again. So I will, while Sue Ann is talking here, I will type into the chat room, Wolf Creek Ranch 1.tripod. I'll type into, this is a very good website that I find as far as explaining what diatomaceous earth is. You can buy it at health food stores. You can buy it in pet stores. Even in the health food store, you'll find it in the pet section. It's food grade. People can take it too. And I've used it many times. I've taken diatomaceous for various things I've used it for. So I'll type it into the chat room, and then you'll be able to look at the website up to get more information about it. I'll talk more about DE because I use DE quite often, especially with animals. In fact, DE really came from veterinarians. They were the ones that were actually started using it for the animals, and then we got smart. We started using it for people too. So
good transition there. So yeah, while Cindy's putting that into the chat for you all to take down. So again, the allergy thing is fairly common. I've had a lot of experience with that with my own pets, and especially with seasonal allergies. And so I have very successfully used homeopathy. I've also used flower essences for that, and really doing a lot of work with energy work to, again, rebalance the body system. So that would be the meridian clearing, which is even energy medicine for animals. Again, what we're doing there is we're trying to make sure we're opening up the flow of energy through the body's normal energy pathways, so that energy can flow in and out of systems and organs, and those organs then can be optimized and nourished with life force energy, with oxygen, with blood, whatever we need, to the nourishment that that particular body system needs, and those systems can work the way they were designed. So again, with allergies, depending on whether we're talking about more respiratory or skin, basically we're going to be looking at three systems. We're going to look pretty much at the liver, we're going to look at the small intestine and the lung systems for sure. And we're going to be looking to rebalance and make sure those energy pathways are open and clear, and energy can move in and out and support the organs that are there to do the job of eliminating our allergies and keeping our immune system in check. Now, there's another technique I use, which is an energy balancing and clearing. It's called spiritual response technique, or SRT for short. And there's a specific allergy clearing protocol for both people and pets there. And that I've used successfully with one of my pets to remove a limiting or a blocked dysfunctional energy pattern that just would not resolve. And it was higher up than just in the physical body. So it was sort of a spiritual energetic block, and we do have those. There's in SRT, one of the things that we have come to know from spiritually channeled wisdom is that a lot of times the reason people have allergies is because you've had a problem with that particular substance, or if it's the case you're allergic, let's say, to cats, well, you perhaps might have been killed by a tiger in a past life, and you carry that energetic vibration of the challenge and the imbalance and the energies you carried from that experience forward, and then something in this life can trigger that allergy, and you end up reliving some of those symptoms. So people who've been, have wheat allergies, may have died in a field farming or something. I mean, there are just all kinds of things that can cause that. But SRT would be the methodology to sort of clear that energetic pattern that is really ingrained in your energy body, and maybe have come with you, into this life in this body just to experience it, to be able to get rid of that challenge for yourself. Something else that's also widely effective for things like allergies is tapping, the emotional freedom technique, where we are using we are working with the neuro-linguistic programming in our mind and our body, and we're working with the acupressure points of our body, and we're tapping on those acupressure points. Generally, they're around the head, the face, and the body. For an animal, we wouldn't actually be tapping on the animal, but we would be tapping on our own meridian points and holding focus and intention for the pet with whatever their challenge is. And tapping can be a great way to shift and relieve an allergy pattern or any other stuck energy pattern that we have. Okay, so what's our next case, Cindy?
Next we talk about is respiratory problems. Now, some of you may have heard of kennel cough, so which can be a very, very serious condition. So the client calls me up telling me that her dog has a dry cough, causing him to gag, and in some cases vomit. So in homeopathy, you don't always need to know what the health condition is. I had enough information to prescribe the homeopathic remedy because she told me it was a dry cough and gagging and vomiting. Those are key symptoms for even for people coughs. These are key symptoms for. So even if she told me it was kennel cough, I still would have given the same homeopathic remedy I would have selected. So I had to take the remedy, give the animal the remedy every hour until the gagging or the vomiting lessened. Once that lessened, then they're going to back off to every 2 to 3 hours. And she reported back to me that after 2 doses of homeopathic remedy, the gagging lessened. So she gave him 2 doses an hour apart. After that, the gagging lessened. She backed off, and she gave the remedy 2 or 3 hours later. The high enough is 2 or 3 hours later. So when the cat started, or the dog started gagging again, or started coughing more often again, well, it was 2 hours. Then it'll be 1 dose every 2 hours. If it wasn't for 3 hours later after the last dose, it'd be 1 dose every 3 hours. And you would continue with that day after day until the dog is no longer coughing or gagging on the mucus, you would do. Anything else you want to add, Sue Ann?
Well, the respiratory thing, of course, is tricky, just like with people. So again, with one of my own pets, I have been dealing with for a fairly long-term chronic case of, well, I think at this point, Cindy, we figured out it's chronic sinusitis, but it's a bit of a roller coaster. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later in terms of the pillars of health. Like when you're dealing with a long-term chronic type imbalance, it can be very tricky. It can be also a bit discouraging because, you know, sometimes you just have to come back to what, am I making improvements here or not, and then shift your approach if you need to, or stay the course and give it a chance to actually work. So one of my cats with chronic sinusitis, I mean, he'll have everything from a couple of sneezes to, you know, there are some days he just has like flying snot sneezes, and he's just, you know, he's got a runny nose. You can tell his eyes are kind of like, oh, I don't feel good. And then, you know, 2 days later, he goes through a different cycle and his whole constitution clears up, and, you know, he's running around like a kitten and he seems normal, and, you know, life is good. But then he'll go back. So it's just been this very long and complicated case. And, you know, we have been working closely with our vet in this case, because the one thing I don't want to have happen is I surely don't want him to go get any kind of a lung infection or roll into the territory of asthma, you know, which would be very challenging for him. So he does get regular checkups to monitor it. But he also, you know, like I said, he'll go through periods where quite good and stable, and because we are constantly working on rebalancing for him and trying to make sure that his systems are good, his respiration is good, doing some of the things we've talked about already. He gets regular energy work treatments to balance his meridians. He gets regular Reiki treatments. He uses homeopathy as a major tool to address the symptoms when he's having symptoms. And those are the things that really will help keep him in balance. So we're managing it. So, you know, at this point, managing and mitigating the symptoms is about as good as we can do, but it's not, you know, we'd obviously like it completely resolved. So we continue to work it and monitor and just see if there's any changes in that pattern that we need to address, but because we certainly don't want it to get more serious. But it is definitely a holistic and integrative approach between the work that I'm doing, the work that we're doing with Cindy, who's consulting with us on it, and with my trusted vet. So, you know, it is a big tent. We all do work together integratively to try to come up with the best outcome for our pets. So what
All right, so the next case we'll talk about is skin conditions. So skin conditions is really a liver problem. What happens is the digestive, and I mean liver, I don't mean they're bad, I mean the whole digestive system. So when the digestive system is affected and the liver cannot cleanse it out quick enough, it throws it out to the skin. Our skin is our largest eliminating organ. So what do we see? We see skin symptoms, we would see dry, flaky skin, we would see oozing, for animals, you would see what's called hot spots, which is like eczema, or they're constantly scratching. So the case I have used from a friend of mine calls me up telling me that her dog has a skin rash. She describes the rash as red discoloration. On its belly, he has got a few spots that are oozing yellow pus. I asked her, when did it start? This past fall. So I asked her what happened over the summer. So whenever somebody tells you it happened like this past fall, you always want to go for etiology 2 or 3 months prior to what happened, because you would go like a week prior or a month prior may not be enough information for you. So I asked her what happened over the summer. Her dog's name was Leo. So she said she got talked into giving Leo a natural flea bath, and ever since then he's been scratching, and now he's starting to have oozing eruptions, oozing spots on his belly now. So I selected a homeopathic remedy according to the scratching and the oozing. So in discharge, what color? Is it yellow? Is it green? Is it clear? Is it white? White meaning like white like a paper, or clear? Is it sticky? Is it runny? Those are all different characteristics you would look for when selecting a homeopathic remedy. So she gave the homeopathic remedy once a day, and I said to her, look for improvement within 7 days. So the first sign for improvement you're going to see with skin, in this case here, is that the sore is going to start to dry up. And then once they start to dry up, you're going to see nice, pink skin's going to be there. And then you're going to start seeing them completely be gone and no more new eruptions. That's what you'll be looking for in a case like this. I also recommend you put him on DE, diatomaceous earth, because that's going to help clean up the whole gut, clean up the digestive system. So what happened is this natural flea bath was too toxic for the body. You know, even though it's only was on the skin, anything you put on your skin has to bypass the liver sooner or later. That's why it's very important what we put on our skin. I always like to say, if you can't eat it, I wouldn't put it on there. I wouldn't even put it on my skin because it has to bypass the liver. And if it's too toxic for the liver, it's going to do something with it. And it's going to throw it out to the skin as some sort of a skin rash it's going to do. You have anything else you want to add, Sue Ann?
No, just really echoing what you said. I mean, the homeopathy can work very, very well and very quickly to definitely address the skin issues. One of my cats had a little bout, actually it went on for a couple of months with red scabby skin patches, you know, on his fur, and his fur did start to fall away and thin out a little bit, but underlying that we could see these like sort of brown, red, scabby patches. And so with homeopathy and with flower essences, between using both of them in concert with each other, was able to very quickly resolve that. I mean, a matter of probably days or weeks, the scabs and the round, red-brown skin issue went away, the fur grew back, he was fine. So clearly it was, you know, a quick and accurate diagnosis when we looked at it. And, you know, again, something that we got very quick results on. So, and again, when things like that happen and you're not sure, and the pet's not sure, and the pet's struggling a little bit, one of the good things to do would always be doing something like Reiki, which will help with stress reduction. Because again, those things, especially for animals that like to groom, and then they're grooming or they're excessively licking, and then the skin is getting raw, you know, there's physical distress with the fact they don't feel well, but there's also mental, emotional distress too that they're trying to alleviate by making themselves feel better by doing that licking. So we want to work at several different levels at the same time, and Reiki would be for the stress part of that, and then your flower essences and your homeopathy would be dealing with the physical symptoms. I think we have one more case scenario before we...
Parasites. Let's talk about parasites. So there's various homeopathic remedies for parasites or worms. They're pretty much the same thing. So when you see your pet scooching its butt on the floor, that's usually one of the first signs he has parasite, or it could also be the anal glands could be a problem, need to be excreted. So when you see that commotion, you see that dog scooting his butt across, he probably has worms, probably. Digestive system, digestive issues also the big parasite problem. Again, what's in the gut's got to, you know, it's going to be showing up. So parasites can lead to fleas. So that's another reason why the last case I told my client to put her dog on DE, diatomaceous, because it could later on, but if you don't clear what's going on inside the gut, it could go to parasite. It can also lead to flea problems. So you want to make sure you clean everything all up. So the homeopathic remedy you would use for parasites would be once a day, and within a few days, the pet will be improving. So in other words, the pet would not be scooching his butt across the floor or across the grass anymore within a few days. Always with parasites, I always recommend diatomaceous earth, and for at least 6 months. So what you would do is when you give the first homeopathic remedy, when you first start giving the remedy, you want to put them on diatomaceous earth. It goes according to their poundage, how much you give them. And you want to give it to them for about a month. You want to do it. And then thereafter, you want to continue for another 6 months thereafter. You always want to give it around a full moon. So you want the full moon is one day, and you want to give it, 3 days before the full moon, and then 3 days after, for a total of 7 days. Because the moon, we're actually really governed by the moon. Our menstrual cycle, that's all I call them, really the moon cycle. So the same thing with parasites. Around the full moon, that's when the parasites really get active. They really, as you call the critters, are really moving around inside there. So you really want to get them out. So what you would do is for 6 months, 3 days before the full moon, the actual full moon day with the 4th day, and 3 days after, you're going to put them on the diatomaceous. There you're going to do. I also would recommend at that time also go back on the homeopathic remedy. What you want to do, you want to clean out the eggs, the babies, the teeny boppers, the parents, and the grandparents. You want to leave nobody behind. That's why we do it for 6 months, to make sure everything's been completely cleared out. You want to do. Do you have anything to add for parasites, Sue Ann, or?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, I think we want to switch gears a little bit now and just
Yes.
talk about what we call the pillars of health. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I think it's really foundational for understanding what we're doing, and when we're working holistically, how do we know we're going to be successful? So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so there's three pillars of health there is. So whether it be, what do I say, homeopathy, energy medicine, whatever modality you're using, these three signs of health have to take place. And the first one is the energy has to increase or be balanced out according to the age and the species of the animal. So if it's more of a puppy, the puppy's like all high energy, the energy should be calmed down. Not sedated, but calmed down enough that the animal is more in balance. Now, if it's an older dog, I should say, or an older cat, so sleeping a lot more, they're kind of a little more malaise, you want energy to come up a little more active, again, for their age and for their species. The second pillar of health is they must exhibit a well-being feeling, mentally, emotionally. So how can I say that? So let's say it's the cat is, what am I gonna say, kind of like irritated, or frustrated, or kind of snappy. Now you want that to be back to normal again, not so he's not doing that. Or you have an animal that is withdrawn. You go into the house, the dog or the cat's hiding, they're afraid, whatever it may be, ever since being sick. So what happens is that now, since taking the homeopathic remedy, or now since doing any other energy medicine that you choose to do, now the animal is more back to normal. It comes out, it acts more socialized, what needs to happen. The third pillar of health is the sleep cycles have to improve. So what happens is that, again, they're more active according to their age and species. They're going to be what happen. So once the three pillars of health are in balance, now the body systems function better. Their digestion is better. Their elimination is better. Their appetite, everything's to flow in harmony, or what's called homeostasis, what needs to be happening. So when that happens, that's what we're looking for. Overall, we're always looking for this quick cure, the quick fix we're looking for. Which there's other signs that we need to be looking for to make sure that what approach you're taking is working. Now, like I said, those three pillars of health have to happen. Now, it's interesting is that these are the same things that have to happen for people too. So this is not just for pets. These three pillars of health have to happen for people too. Your energy has to increase or balance out. You feel better emotionally or mentally, and your sleep cycles have to improve. You fall asleep easier, you stay asleep, or you wake up in the morning much more refreshed. These three things have to happen. Once these are happening, we're all back into balance again. Everything's all harmonized, it's all running smoother. You got a really great machine running very smoothly then at that point.
True. Great. And again, as Cindy said, sometimes we just, we're running around, we're trying to get that quick fix, but we really need to step back and think, are we on the right path? Is this really working for me and for my pet? So in addition to just, educating yourselves on some of these common problems that we run into around digestion elimination, I think one of the other reasons that you might be with us tonight and have joined us for this teleconference is because you're just tired of taking a scattershot approach and you're looking for a more holistic or integrative way to help your pet to get back in balance. You're looking for a way to work with a more integrative approach because really you want to get to the root cause of what's going on, not just necessarily dealing with the symptoms, but really getting to the underlying cause of what is actually going on and why your pet is not feeling well. And then how can you get them back in balance and health faster? And let's face it, we all know how horrible we feel. I mean, we are in an epic flu season, and I know myself and Cindy have been, potentially suffering with some of the side effects of that too, as many of you and your families are. But we know how terrible we feel, and so our pets are also, when they're feeling unwell, there's a lot of stress. There's just the fact that you don't feel well physically, but there's a lot of mental and emotional stress that also takes its toll on us. So the sooner we can get to the root cause of what is really taking them out of balance and nip that in the bud, the faster we can get them back to overall health and wellness. So I think now might be a really good time, if you guys are okay with it. I'd love to tell you a little bit more about the Premier Pet Package that I mentioned earlier and how we offer that and get your pet a more comprehensive way to address the issues they're facing and getting them back to healing. So would it be okay if I mention a little bit about that now before we move on? We've got some more cases I know we want to share with you and take some questions.
I think that'd be great.
Okay. Right. So the Premier Pet Package includes phone consultations with both Cindy and I, as well as remedies and treatments that are unique to your pet. And that is based on the consultations that we'll be doing with you. All of the services are offered as remote healing or phone-based consultations or sessions and are scheduled as appointments after you've purchased the Premier Pet Package. The service includes one animal communication session with me, one homeopathic consult with Cindy, including remedies that she will come up with in your consult, and one remote energy healing session with me for your pet. So your pet is going to be getting a lot of dedicated support from many different angles to address their particular and unique situation, whatever's going on with them. And as a special offer for being with us tonight on the teleconference, if you book your Premier Pet Package within 48 hours, so today is the 13th, if you book it by February 15th at 5 p.m., we will offer you the special pricing of $197, which includes all three services. Now, normally this is about a $230 package, and I don't know about you, but I have spent well over that amount with just one visit to a vet for far less than 3 hours worth of time, and I'm sure you have too, and still maybe not have resolved my issue. So we want to make sure that you know that you've got three great services you can use. You have 3 months to use them. And the best part is you can use it for more than one pet. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible and support you in as many different ways as possible. So if you are concerned about your pet's health or dealing with some chronic issues and you've been running into walls and you're not sure where to go, this could be a great way to get to the root cause of what's going on with your pet. And again, if you book your package with us, which you could do we'll be sending out some information following tonight's teleconference, but you can just click the link and then you can prepay for your package. We'll be getting on the phone with you. We'll be booking your sessions. You have 3 months to use them. We do recommend that you do the animal communication session first because that will give us some great insight and intelligence into what is going on with your pet from your pet's perspective. And then we'll be scheduling the homeopathic consult with Cindy and the energy session with me. So again, it includes one animal communication session. That also that's a 30-minute session, and it includes a 30-minute debrief or a 15-minute debrief with me after the session as well as in the beginning, a 30-minute animal energy medicine session. That can be some of the things we've talked about here tonight, Reiki, the tapping, the SRT, the meridian balancing, and the 30-minute consult with Cindy, which also includes 2 15-minute check-ins plus the actual remedies. That's 3 hours of focused consultation and treatment specific for your pet to help rebalance them in a way that's natural and safe for them, in a way that doesn't require lots of additional time or travel in your schedule because all of the services are offered over the phone or as distance healing sessions.
Yeah.
And the way that animals respond to quite naturally and easily that brings them back to balance, peace, calm, and harmony, which they know is their natural state. And again, you can use your sessions for more than one pet. So again, we'll be sharing some more information with that after the teleconference. And I think, let me just put this up real quick. Oops, went to my Zoom thing and didn't share my screen. So while I'm sharing my screen, Cindy, I think we're going to talk to them about a couple more case studies. And then I think we also want to take some live questions.
Yeah, some Q&A, yeah. So what I like to do is explain a couple of cases that Sue and I have worked together. So you can kind of see how it all works. So my first case is actually going to be about my daughter. My daughter's cat, Pandora, had a peeing problem. And what happened is the cat all of a sudden started peeing outside of her cat litter box. And every time she would pee, she would cry out, she would. And we've all had bladder infections, so we all know how that could be. When you're peeing, it's very painful. So what Pandora would do is every time she peed, she would cry out. So I worked up a homeopathic remedy. And we gave it to her twice a day for a few days, and the peeing, improved. She stopped crying out. She did, and her peeing went back to normal. And then a few weeks later, she started doing it again. So I told my daughter to go back to the remedy again, put her back on it again, and this time we'll go a little bit longer with it. Maybe we didn't go long enough with it, and so she did. And then I would say a few weeks later, starting to pee now, and my daughter's living on carpet. Well, my daughter was not too happy about that. She was not happy about the cat having a peeing problem, let alone now her house started to smell like pee. So she was very, very frustrated. So I said to her, I said, I have a friend of mine that does animal communication. I says, why don't we have her tap into Pandora and kind of see what's really going on there? And you want to take over from there, Sue Ann? What happened?
Yep. So really, when we tuned in with the cat, we found out quite a different challenge than we had originally anticipated. One of the key things that came out of the session was the cat had said that she did not think that the daughter actually had a good partner in her boyfriend, and she felt she could do better, and she was literally quite PO'd about it. Pissed off, to be quite frank, and that was the way she kind of communicated or chose to get that message across. Was she started peeing outside the litter box because she wasn't able to get her daughter's attention any other way. And that's quite common. You'll see when animals do something like that, they are literally at their wits' end trying to communicate to you, to tell you something is out of whack and you need to pay attention to it. And that was the message that she got from her cat.
So in reality, Sue Ann had no idea about my daughter. I mean, she knew I had a daughter, she knew I had grandchildren, she knew, but she knew nothing at all about my daughter at all. And when Sue Ann was telling me about how this cat was PO'd and, didn't really care a lot for the boyfriend, you could do better, he should be treating you better, he should be, that I said to Sue Ann, this is exactly what we've been telling my daughter for several months now. The whole family has been telling my daughter this. So what Sue Ann did was she worked up some flower essence according to what was going on in the family dynamics there. And every day my daughter would rub it on, actually both cats. My daughter had 2 cats. So when you do animal communication, everybody all comes into the conversation, not just one cat. So both cats chimed in, they both spoke to Sue Ann. And but Pandora was the one that was PO'd. And so every day my daughter would rub the flower essence onto both cats. And in a matter of time, the cats, Pandora stopped peeing on the carpet, she did. And the good news about the whole thing is that several months later, my daughter broke up with her boyfriend. So what happened is he had moved into the house. She was dating him for quite some time, and he moved in, and Pandora was just not happy with the whole thing. So like I said, the good news is that Pandora stopped peeing, and my daughter ended up breaking up with this guy. That was the good news.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I know I'm just looking at the time here. I think maybe we should go to maybe some Q&A and take some questions while we have some time here. So I'm just reminding everybody, if you are on your computer, I know a lot of you are on the phone tonight, but if you are on your computer and you want to type into the chat, just put your mouse over your screen and hover until you see that little toolbar that says chat, and then feel free to type in your questions right in the chat box. And then I think we have one pre-submitted question. Cindy, we'll take that first, and then we'll just open up the phones here and unmute everybody, and we'll just take some live questions. All
right, so the question that got submitted was for a Great Dane who's 3 years old. And a 3-year-old neuter Great Dane has been leaking urine during the night. He will have a wet spot on his bed. He licks himself, and then he would get up and need to go outside. He has never had good bladder control, but this is unusual for him. He is able to hold his urine during the day and rarely has an accident during the day. More likely when he gets home, more likely when we get home, or when he gets excited, or if he is sniffing a new spot, that he'd be more apt to squirt some urine. And then he'd run to the door because he had to go outside. We do have a 10-month-old baby that is now crawling around. We're not sure if it's a behavior or a medical problem. So my question would be in taking this case, I would look for etiology. You always want to know what happened prior, because something had to shift in the dynamics there. Either something shifted with him or something shifted in the family dynamics. Now, if you were to say that the Great Dane started peeing, 10 months ago when the baby was first born, then I would say that has to be he feels abandoned. He's trying to get your attention in some way. The same thing with my daughter's cat was trying to do with my daughter, trying to get your attention in some way. If it's not that, then I would look to see if maybe something else changed in the family dynamics 10, 12 months ago. I would look into, or it could actually be a urinary tract infection. However, if it happens quite regularly, and I did not say how long this has been happening for, but if it's going for quite a while, I would think it's probably more of an emotional problem than a UTI. So if it was more of a UTI, you would have more symptoms by now. Like a week or so later, the dog would be crying out more. You may be seeing some blood. You would see other characteristics. that you be actually running the dog to the veterinarian to kind of get a urine specimen check to see what's really going on there. So that's what I had to, I would need to get more information to be able to tell you better my approach would be. Sven, anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, I would concur. We would need a little more information, but on what was submitted with that question, we would be looking to again rebalance the bladder and the kidney meridians. We would want to know if they had a vet checkup to rule out any other physiological concerns, and so yeah, we would just probably need a little bit more information, which we'd get in our consults. But yeah, energetically, I would be looking to rebalance along the meridians and just making sure that energy is flowing there and there's no blockages. Okay, so let's see, we have, I've got one question in chat and then we're going to open up the phones for everybody here. Let's see. Okay, so someone's asking if we have recorded. Yes, we are recording. We'll hopefully be able to get the recording out in the next couple of days, as long as it finishes up and records correctly. And we will definitely be following up with an email on this. So if you have any questions, take a look for that. And then even if it's not in the next couple of days, usually within a week, we have been able to get this up onto our registration page. So we're hoping that you'll all be joining us for the next month's conference in March. And when you go to the registration page, right there on the landing page will also be a link to any of the previously recorded months that we were able to record. So let me just unmute everybody. Everybody is now unmuted. The phone lines are open. So if anybody wants to ask a question or provide some feedback, we'll be happy to do that for the next few moments. That's why we're here. Any questions? I see.
Yeah, I see the box moving around.
Yeah, I see the box moving around, like people aren't quite sure. Go ahead and jump in. Somebody has their hand raised. It's Barb, I think. I don't know if you have a question or there's a technical question you have. If you're still with us. In chat, someone's asking about the vaccines around rabies and other shots. Can you be more specific with your question? Either go ahead and ask it or type it into the chat. Okay, you might have yourself muted. We're not getting anybody to come through on the questions. There's somebody? Other questions?
Anybody has any other questions while she's...
Okay. So,
all right, so the rabies is required by law and trying to avoid them. Yeah, that's like typical vaccinations for children too. So that's a big thing there. So there's different ways of, there's different approaches to that. Right now I don't have any animals, but I know when I did have animals, that my veterinarian was a holistic veterinarian, and she would use a live parvo, or she would use a different kind of a vaccination she would use and give to them. But only would give the required ones she would do. There's also homeopathic remedies to negate the side effects of vaccination, so that can be done too. I've done that for people, and I've done that for pets too. So it depends upon what the symptoms are. So there are homeopathic remedies that can be addressed to do that. It's kind of a little bit hard to get away by law. It depends on where you live. If you're living in more of a city, like where I live here in my town, they'll come knocking on your door to see if you actually got the vaccines, you know, or you have vaccines. If you live more in the rural area, then you know it's a little bit more. You can get away a little bit more than what you would do in a little more of a. I'm in a small town, so. But there are ways to work with the side effects of vaccinations. Anything you want to add to that, Sue-Ann?
No, as you know, I have consulted with you on that very question myself, because I do share that concern, and have found the approach with the homeopathic remedies to definitely help address that. So if that is something you're interested in, then I would definitely recommend doing a consultation with Cindy and getting the specific approach for your pet in your town or city, and I think they're quite happy with the results.
Yeah. Well, yes, Thuya is one of the remedies you could use for vaccinations, but it's not the one that I would go to. There was many other remedies to select for vaccination. So Thuya is one of them, but like I said, you want to go to Thuya usually your last resort because that Thuya goes very deep. So it would not be one of the ones that I would select as my first off unless the animal was having Thuya symptoms and I'd say yes, then I would select Thuya. But there's many other remedies to go to utilize.
Yeah, other questions?
Any other questions?
Any other questions that I think one of the questions that I know people always ask me is, how long does it take to see improvement, right? My pet, using holistic approaches, how do I know, right? What's the timeline? So do you have a perspective on that, Cindy?
How long it takes for improvement, you said? Is that what your question you said? Okay. We couldn't hear with all the noise there. Well, it depends. So
that salt water is not good. I thought it was
here's somebody, someone's asking a question or talking to somebody in your house.
So to answer your question, it depends on the kind of potency as to how quick I'm looking for improvement. So like I said, with the one dog had the kennel cough, so I'd be looking for improvement within a couple of hours. I look for improvement. If it was more of a skin problem, I would look for improvement within probably 5 to 7 days for a skin because it takes that much time to kind of turn things around. And if it was more like like an injury, I'd be looking for a change within 24 hours. You usually will see a change usually within the first few doses of a remedy. You'll be seeing some sort of improvement. Again, I don't mean cured, I don't mean gone, but I mean improvement you would be looking for. So if it's like a sprained ankle, you'd be looking for it maybe not as stiff or maybe walking a little bit easier. So it depends upon what the symptoms would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and similar with energy medicine, with some of the things we've talked about, whether it's Reiki or flower essences or anything, we are looking for shifts in the pattern and then, shifting to a positive direction, right, based on what we talked about with the pillars of health. So that will be very variable depending on how severe the symptoms were or how far along the challenge was before you got involved in trying to rebalance it. Some animals rebalance very quickly, and it could be hours, it could be days, but other things do take, just like with people, the healing path is very individual and it can be very, like a lot of layers and a lot of levels of going through different healing, not only at the physical, but at the mental, emotional level as well. And quite often, in some of the cases that we share, one of the things Cindy and I almost always run into is especially an extended case, we'll hit what we call the plateau where, the healing is happening at the physical level, the case is progressing, things are going good, and then they get stuck or they stop or they seem to even go backwards. And that's a good indication to us that now we need to kick it up to a different level of healing. So if it was going well at physical level and they got stuck, or they stopped or they go backwards, now we need to go up and look at the emotional level and work at that level of healing. And once that gets rebalanced and resolved, then the physical level healing can continue on its path. So sometimes it's, we're going up and we're going backwards and we're going in all these different directions. But as long as we overall are getting forward progress, then, that's just the way healing works sometimes. It's not a straight line. It can be very zigzaggy.
We even know for yourself as for people, same way. So we cannot expect an upward push and continuously going. So yeah, and it also depends how long you've had the problem. The longer you've had the illness, the symptoms, that much longer it's going to take for improvement. If you just had a cough, you're going to see changes. It looks quickly if somebody's had a cough for a long time. So
yeah. Okay, a few more minutes. We'll take more questions. Anybody? Any feedback? Any comments that you have?
You're unmuted, so you're all able to talk, okay?
Oh, hello?
Hi, yes, you're unmuted, so you can talk.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, I didn't know if it worked this way. Yeah, you were touching base a little bit on a question I had regarding the rabies vaccine. That's the only one in our area that is required by law. And I was just wondering, through homeopathy, is there anything that you can give preventatively prior to the vaccine?
Um, ask a little more specifically. You're trying what you're looking for.
Well, we need to have her. They've been asking every time we bring her in for a nail trim, et cetera, you know, that we need to get the vaccine, and we know that, but I want to try to find something to kind of give her to build her system up, more or less like a preventative.
More of a prophylactic.
I don't know if that's possible with homeopathy.
This is what I would recommend. You know, I just read this morning on one of the Facebook groups that I'm involved with animal care, and they were talking about is to pull it tighter. You know what I mean by a tighter? You have some blood draw, and you see if they have antibodies for that.
Yeah.
I've even done it with my children. When my children went to college, because my kids had mumps and measles and chickenpox and all those illnesses, I had them pull it tighter. Since they have the antibodies, they no longer they did not have to have the vaccinations.
Yeah.
So
actually, I did check into the titer for our area, and they don't accept that. They need to have the actual vaccine for rabies. And that's all we would give them. You know, we don't do any of the other ones. Yeah. You know, but yeah, the titer is, if it's an area that they will accept that, you know, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, again, I would look at, there's nothing we can do prophylactic. I mean, if the animal is scared, anxiety, you can give remedies for the anxiety, getting the dog or the pet into the vet's office. There's remedies you can do prophylactic. But I don't see, I don't use homeopathy like homeopraxis. I don't use homeopathy that way. For several reasons. And one of the main reasons is because how do you know if you're going to get those illnesses? You know,
it's because
homeopathic remedy works according to symptoms. If you don't have the symptoms, you can't really recommend the remedy. You can give it, you can take it, but if you're not really going to do anything other than overstimulate the immune system, maybe create more problems. So I don't really follow homeopathic praxism. If it was an epidemic, that'd be a different story. I would use it a little bit different for an epidemic, but not for vaccines. So,
that's a good point. That makes sense, because with homeopathy, it's likes treating likes.
Yes, exactly.
You know, and how do you know what's going to happen? You can't predict what's going to happen to her with, you know, the vaccine. I'm just going to have to look into something to build her, make sure her system is up and healthy, you know. I don't like doing this, but what can you do?
Well, the other thing you can do is, they have other characteristics. They need to be tweaked, for lack of a better word, need to be tweaked. What you can do is put them on a so-called constitutional homeopathic remedy for the pet. And it's a remedy for who they are. Like you do for people. It's a remedy for who they are. But they have to have, symptoms. You have to have some characteristics in order to match that. So you could do it that way also, is to build them up that way. And not just for vaccinations, but if they're a little lethargic or eating is not quite right, or they're getting older, there's remedies that you can actually give to strengthen the overall immune system that way.
Okay.
Like I said, but according to once you get the vaccine, then, it does affect the immune system. So I would always recommend a remedy according to what the symptoms are since having the vaccine, whatever the symptoms may be.
Okay. I have one more question, and I don't like to ask, and if you can't answer this, I understand, because it's not according to what your topics were. Do you have any suggestions? We have an older golden that after she had been spayed, she started to get the fatty tumors.
Oh,
they're benign, but they're fatty tumors.
Yeah.
And it was after her spay. She had to have an emergency spay. In fact, with our younger one, we're trying to find someone that does the, what do you call that spay? It's where they keep the ovaries, but they just remove the uterus, so they still get the hormones. What's that word? I can't think of it.
Ovary sparing.
It's like.
What's a partial? Called a partial.
Correct. Yeah. There's a word they referred to that as. But anyway, you have the idea that she'll still get the hormones. But anyway, our older dog needed to have the emergency spay. And after that is when, a lot of trouble started, and the fatty tumors are one of them.
So the etiology would be never well since the being spaded. So it could be never well since the anesthesia. It could be never well since having the actual surgery done, the female surgery done. It could be. It could be never well since, you know, whatever happened during the surgery. So that's what would need to be addressed. There are homeopathic remedies for fatty cysts. What you really need, my approach would be is to look more, because there's several remedies for fatty cysts, and you really need to know why they're there. Like I said, look for the etiology. So I would look to address what happened during the surgery, how has the animal, how else has the animal changed since the surgery, which you actually be looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, I would work that way and then see if the cysts would go, because that's when it happened. If they didn't have the surgery, they may not be having the fatty cysts. So you have to address what happened prior, what took place to create it. That's what needs to be addressed.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, we probably need to wrap up.
Well, I find this so interesting, everything that, you know, you ladies are talking about. So thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's our pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. But just to be careful of everyone's time, we probably should wrap up now. And again, we will be following up with an email. We will definitely send you some additional information on the Premier Pet Package if you are interested in taking advantage of that. Please follow us on Facebook, right, at The Holistic Pet, which I think the handle is at The Holistic Pet Gals. That's us, me and Cindy. And again, no later than February 15th, 5 p.m. to get the special live event price for Premier Pet Package. But do feel free to connect with us on the Facebook page or email us or certainly call us if you have any questions. And I hope that you will join us again next month on March 13th. Our next topic is going to be from bouncing babies to teens, and we'll be talking all about young animal issues. So we hope we will talk to you all then. Thank you so much for being with us again. And everybody have a great night.
Okay. Good night. Thank you much.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.